Okay, hopefully you're now feeling pretty confident with rounding to decimal places. Now, more often than not in GCSE, they'll ask you to round instead to significant figures, and if you've got a complex calculator question, they'll often tell you to give your answer to 3 significant figures. Now, the reason why we use significant figures is because of this. Imagine I've got a piece of spaghetti which is 14.65 centimetres long. I could have given exactly the same measurement in millimetres, 146.5, or I could have given it in metres, 0.1465. They are all the same measurement, all to the same degree of accuracy. They're just measured in different units. Now, if I was rounding those to the nearest whole number, this would round to 15, this would round to 147, and this would round to 0. If I was rounding it to 1 decimal place, this would round to 14.7, this would stay as 146.5, and this would round to 0.1. So those kind of ways of rounding are unfair to different units. They don't treat different units the same. And that's why we start rounding to significant figures, because significant figures mean that we get the same level of accuracy whatever units we're in. So we need to remember that I count significant figures from the first non-zero digit. So if I was rounding these to 2 significant figures, let's say I'm going to round these to 2 significant figures, I'm going to count my first 2 non-zero digits. So I start there, that's my first significant figure, and this is going to be my second. So I've got 14, my next digit is a 6, I'd round it up, the 6 gets the 14 to round up, and it becomes 15 centimetres. Here, 2 significant figures means first, second, looking at what the next digit is, the 6 gets the 4 to round up, and it becomes 150 millimetres. The last one, because I'm only counting from the first non-zero digit, this doesn't count as significant. This is my first significant figure, this is my second. So again, that 6 gets the 4 to round up, and it becomes 0.15 metres. So the great advantage of rounding to significant figures rather than decimal places is that it's blind to the units of measurement. So all of these maintain the same level of accuracy whether they're measured in centimetres, millimetres or metres. So we're going to have a go at rounding some numbers to significant figures, and for all 3 of these numbers we're rounding to 1, 2 and 3 significant figures. So for the first one I've got 2,647. If I'm rounding it to 1 significant figure, I'm only interested in that first digit. That 6 is going to get the 2 to round up, it's going to become a 3. Now remember, I need that to maintain the same place value. This was 2,647, so that 2,000 gets pushed up to a 3,000. So I'm going to need to put in zeros to keep my place value the same. When I'm rounding to 2 significant figures, I'm going to underline the first 2 digits. Remember, that's 2,647. The 4 is not 5 or bigger, so this stays the same as 26. And again, I need to keep the place value the same. It's not just 26, it's 2,647. So I need to put in my 2 zeros. And lastly, when I'm going to 3 significant figures, I'm underlining the first 3 digits. The 7 is bigger than 5, so it pushes this 264 up to 265. And again, I need to put the place value in. And you should be able to see 2,647 is the exact value. 2,650 is rounded, but it's pretty close. 2,600 rounded to 2 significant figures, it's less close. And 3,000 is rounded to 1 significant figure, and you'll see it's quite a long way away. And there's good reasons for why we might want to only round to 1 significant figure, because it makes calculations a lot easier. So let's do the same with my next number, 57.254. So again, rounding to 1 significant figure. The 7 is going to push the 5 up to a 6, and I need to put in a 0 because it was 50, so it needs to go up to 60, not just 6. Next time, underlining my first 2, I've got 57.2. The 2 is smaller than 5, so it doesn't push up the 57, so that remains the same. And going on to 3 significant figures, I've got 572. That the 5 pushes that up, and it's going to be 57.3. And again, you should see that the higher the number of significant figures, the closest it was to the original value. Let's look at the last one, which is a small number, and these are the ones that people tend to make mistakes. Remember, my first significant figure doesn't include these leading zeros at the beginning. So here is my first significant figure. Let's look at what that 9 does. It's going to push that up to a 4. I'm going to need to keep in my zeros to maintain the place value of that 4. Next one, I'm now at those 2 significant figures. The 6 is going to push that 39 up to a 40. So notice it's exactly the same, but I keep that additional 0 at the end to show that it's been rounded. And the last one, I've got 396, been pushed up by that 7. It's going to go up to 397. And again, I need to make sure that I put in my zeros to maintain the place value. Okay. I'm going to give you a second just to make sure those are written down. Please pause the video at this point before you go on to some questions of your own. Okay, so these are now your 12 questions to have a go at. Shouldn't take you too long, I hope. Please pause the video now, write down the questions, have a go at rounding them to the level of accuracy, and then when you're done, please play the video and you will get your solutions. So here are the solutions. There are a couple that are worth just having a quick look at in case of any errors. First one was this one here. Common mistake is to think that that 0 doesn't count as significant. It is only zeros at the beginning of a number that don't count as significant. Any zeros in the middle are significant. So this is my first figure, this is my second figure. And the 3 doesn't push that 0 up, so it remains as 9.0. The last one is also a particularly difficult one. Here are my first 3 significant figures. That 8 pushes the 9 up to 10, carries over a 1, carries over a 1, carries over a 1, and it gives you 1.000. Please give yourself a mark out of 12. If you need any more assistance on that, please go on to Hegarty Unit 130. Well done, and please send me a photo.